Hi class, and welcome to a very important 5-minute lesson. Today we're going to talk about the pathway of blood through the heart, and we're also going to talk about the difference between the pulmonary circuit and the systemic circuit that basically your heart and body are interacting with. So this is the first thing we're going to talk about, is this pulmonary circuit and systemic circuit. Since you were a little kid, you know that the heart is involved with pumping blood. That's kind of a common knowledge thing. You've known that since you were little in elementary school. But we're going to talk about where it pumps to and why. So first, let's talk about this pulmonary circuit right here. This basically just means heart to the lungs, back to the heart. That's where blood is traveling. So as you can see, we're going to have deoxygenated blood, which means blood that doesn't have any oxygen attached to it, going to the lungs, getting oxygen, and then coming back to the left side of the heart. That's the pulmonary circuit. Heart, lungs, heart. The systemic circuit is opposite, so we're going to go heart, body, heart. So we're going to take oxygenated blood, bring it to different body tissues like your muscles, your brain, all the different organs that are going to need oxygen and nutrients. We're going to dump off those things there so the blood becomes deoxygenated again and then goes back up to the right side of the heart. So that's where we get the heart, body, heart from. So that's the big difference between the pulmonary and systemic circuit. Ah, yes, the heart. So now we're going to get into how blood actually travels through this pretty amazing structure. And I'm just going to number each structure and tell you the names here. You have to know the order of these. You have to know all the valves. This is a really, really important hit-on topic in this course. So first, let's talk about how blood actually enters the heart. This is structure 1 right here. Structure 1. Structure 1, and I'm going to abbreviate everything because it's hard for me to write it all out using this program, but you need to make sure that you can write it all out. So number 1, this is going to be our superior and inferior vena cava. So I'm just going to write VC for vena cava. This is our superior one. This is our inferior one down here. Remember, superior just means on top, inferior means on bottom. So that's structure 1, and that's how blood is actually going to enter into the heart. The first chamber that blood is going to enter into is this guy right here, number 2. And this is our right atrium. So right atrium. I'm just going to do RA to abbreviate, but you need to make sure you can write out right atrium. Atria are receiving chambers, so they're receiving blood from areas. Next, it's going to travel through our first valve. So here's structure number 3. And this is our right AV valve or our tricuspid valve. You can use either term in this class. So I'm just going to write AV valve. Okay, so that's our right AV valve because it's connecting the atria to the ventricle. Then it's going to enter into our second chamber. This is structure number 4. So structure number 4 is going to be our right ventricle. The ventricles are our actual pumping chambers, and I want to show you kind of how this makes sense. So if we look down here, see where I'm drawing these lines? This is all really thick cardiac muscle. That's myocardium right there. So you can see every time this is going to contract, it's going to basically squeeze those ventricles and cause contraction to occur. So that's why the ventricles are known as the contracting chambers. All right, so when they contract, it's going to squeeze blood up through this valve right here. This is going to be our structure 5. And this valve is known as your pulmonary semilunar valve. And you have 2 semilunar valves. Okay, I'm just going to write SV for semilunar valve. So this is the pulmonary semilunar valve. And then it's going to enter these structures right here. This is our structure 6. And this is our pulmonary arteries. So I'm just going to write PA for pulmonary arteries. Now, the interesting thing is you're sitting here going, wait a second, arteries are usually oxygenated blood. It has oxygen in it. Our big arteries do. Veins are the ones that have deoxygenated blood. Well, that's actually not true, but this is really the only exception to that case. The reason that we call this an artery is because it's bringing blood away from the heart. That's the only reason. So an artery actually by definition is bringing blood away from the heart. Veins are bringing blood to the heart. So this is your pulmonary arteries. Next, these pulmonary arteries are going to take blood, so I'm just going to draw those arrows here, to structure number 7. And structure number 7 is the lungs. Yay! So once it gets to the lungs, this is where we are now receiving oxygen, and we're ready to then come back to the heart. So the lungs gives the blood oxygen, and then they come back via this guy right here, and on this side here. And so this is our structure 8. These are your pulmonary veins. Once again, you're thinking veins. Veins are usually deoxygenated blood, but they're bringing blood to the heart, and that's the true definition of a vein. So we're bringing that oxygenated blood from the lungs now back to the heart. It's going to enter in our next chamber. This is structure number 9, and structure 9 is going to be the left atrium. Okay, remember atria are on top, ventricles are on bottom. Then we go through this valve here. This is our structure 10. And structure number 10 is our bicuspid valve or our left AV valve. Either one is acceptable. Somebody in my class a few years ago was like, you know how I always remembered it? But the difference between tricuspid and bicuspid valve was you have to try it before you buy it. So if you're having a hard time remembering, oh my gosh, does tricuspid come first or bicuspid come first? Try before you buy. All right, then it enters into our bottom chamber down here. This is going to be structure number 11. And this is going to be our left ventricle. Remember, ventricles are on the bottom. Then we have to go shoot up through this valve here. Whoop. Okay, this is structure 12. It's hidden a little bit, but you can see it. And this is our other semilunar valve. This is our aortic semilunar valve. Aortic semilunar valve. Aortic, that's how you spell aortic. Aortic semilunar. Which then brings us to our last big structure of the heart. Right here, structure 13. Woohoo! 13 is the aorta. Aorta. And then our ultimate last structure is this aorta. See how it branches off right here into all these different areas? The aorta is going to bring your now freshly oxygenated blood to all of your body tissues, where part of that systemic circuit now we will dump off that oxygen and nutrients to all the body tissues. And then we start all back over. Once we dump off the oxygen and it becomes deoxygenated blood, it comes right on back through that vena cava, enters into that right side of the heart, goes to the lungs, comes back from the lung center, the left side of the heart, to then go to body tissues. And the kind of amazing thing that I want you to think about here is this is happening 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from the time you are in the womb to the time you die. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for however long you live. You know, some people live to be 85 to 90 years old. So for 90 years, the heart is constantly going through this cycle right here. It's just amazing to think about. So I hope that helps. Please review this again if you need it, because like I said, this is an extremely important concept to know. You have to be able to tell me these structures in this order. So watch it again if you need a little bit more guidance. Please answer the questions below on a separate Pages document or any sort of Word document, and submit as a PDF when complete. All right, thanks for watching, guys.